Hello, welcome to Balance Act. My name is Juan, and today I want to talk a little bit about trauma. I wanted to talk about trauma and how it can sometimes affect our lives going all the way into the future. Now, for me personally, I was a victim of serious trauma, unfortunately, as a child, several different occasions, and that trauma led to more trauma, more perceived trauma, which then led to more trauma. And then so much trauma in my life that I was not only did I experience, but then was attracting, because my mind state was really just holding me back in life, and I was just trying to figure it out. And I was having problems with relationships, problems with isolation, addictive behavior, a lot. I don't know if I mentioned isolating myself, but isolating myself quite a bit, and overworking, having addiction to overworking, just it's a lot of stuff going on there. Things kind of hit the fan for me, hit a wall for me when I was 37, which led me on the spiritual path that I'm on now. And lately, what I've been exploring in my personal life has been relationships. So I've been having a difficult time with relationships, which honestly has gotten a lot better recently. But the thing I realized I was struggling with was my own insecurities. So I have a lot of insecurities when it comes to socializing. And those insecurities, I understand, stem from a couple of things, primarily being isolated as a child. I guess you could say I was neglected in a sense, but not really. Just, it was very typical of Gen Xers. I'm right on the cusp of Gen X and Gen Y, I guess, millennials. And, for a lot of Gen Xers, they call latchkey kids. They basically raised themselves. Their parents were too busy working and trying to become yuppies or whatever the hell was going on back in those days. And meanwhile, those kids were just left sad and alone at home with our MTV and Walkman or Discman, and maybe you had a Super Nintendo or PlayStation or something, and that was kind of it. So so there was that in my life, being raised by my sisters versus my parents. And I just remember being like 10, 11 years old, me and my nephew Ronnie, who's basically like my brother. We're about only 6 years apart, and we grew up in the same house. I remember just looking out the window, waiting for my mom to come home, because she used to work like double shifts and stuff like that. And my father wasn't around because he started another family in a town over, and there's some other stuff with that we won't touch right now. I don't blame him. Love you, Poppy. Shout out to my Poppy. We have a great relationship presently. And so I remember staring out the window, waiting for my mother to come home with my nephew Ronnie as late as 9 p.m. I remember waking up, not seeing her, and she would work so much that I would then go to sleep, not seeing her, cause she was gone the whole time, and it was crazy, really, really crazy. And just thinking about it really hurts. And then I was bullied. I was a young kid, socially awkward, as tall as I am now in high school, and I only weighed like 145, 150 pounds. So skinny kid. I was, into video games, into science fiction and fantasy. Was not into sports at all. I was not into ball sports, at least. I was in martial arts, a little bit of boxing, but I wasn't into following the Knicks. I was from New York, so the Knicks or the Giants or the Jets or any of that stuff, the Yankees or the Mets, I might have moonlighted as a sports fan here and there, but nothing major. So this has led me to feel very down on myself. And even to this day, I get anxiety when I try to approach people who I don't really know that well, because I'm afraid that they're going to immediately reject me. Because, it was like that in high school. It felt that way, at least. You try to approach anybody, they'll look at you, judge you, and they wouldn't judge me very well. And they would just kind of be like, what the fuck are you talking to us for? Kind of thing, kind of attitude, But that was just high school, And, but I carry that to this day. So I had to really come to terms with myself and realize that I'm doing this. I'm the common denominator. I'm the one that's pushing people away. It's not them. I had to get out of this victim mentality. One teacher I don't talk about very often, I'm definitely a fan of his, is Joel Osteen. And he has a saying, you have to go from a victim to a victor. And that was the exact mind state I had to take to start being more social. And, you know, I eased into it. It was just like, I want to be more social. So I said, I want to find some social groups and stuff like that. But as soon as I kind of let that go, like surrender, so to speak, that angst and anxiety, it started happening. I started getting along with people at work better. I started joining these social groups and meeting people at these social groups. You know, I started relaxing more at the gym, being less, you know, angry and angst about who's looking at me, who's doing what, or this guy bumping into me, all that shit disappeared pretty much. And yeah, it's so much better. My friendships that I did have already that were good got tighter. The ones that weren't good actually spread apart a little bit more, which was great. So, right. So, trauma for me stopped me for many, many years from socializing, I think, properly, for enjoying it. I was a people pleaser. I was very much worried about what people thought about me, very insecure about my looks. You know, regardless, many people tell me as I'm handsome as they want to tell me, I didn't see it. You know, so I always felt I got to do something in order to make myself. You see right now I'm sweaty from the gym, so still an insecurity of mine, which is fine. You know, I like to stay healthy, I do like to stay fit, but I probably go a little harder only because of, you know, my insecurities about the way I look. You know, I went the opposite way as an adult. I gained weight, you know, and I got big as an adult. So like I'm afraid of getting big again. Right now I'm at a pretty good weight, you know. Got maybe a little punch, you know, little spare tire, but not too bad. And you know, it's really just being afraid of returning back to that, you know. And so, you know, that's the thing I've been looking at these last few weeks, and it's amazing. It's amazing once you really start to look at something and focus on it, but with a positive, easy attitude, how things can start to loosen up for you. So one of the keys for me for being able to have this new mind state when it comes to being able to socialize more effectively despite my trauma, despite my negative beliefs against myself and other people, big part of it I would say is surrender. Other episode I was talking about how I just didn't at a point didn't understand the word surrender, especially when it came in the spiritual sense. Like I was like, surrender, I don't know what surrender means. Surrender what? Like, who am I surrendering to? And I was talking to some people, and you know, they were like, you know, the conversation went in that direction, and I was saying, you know, I think for a long time I didn't think God was there. So when the idea of surrender spiritually came up, and the spiritual sense came up, I thought I was surrendering whatever the hell I'm supposed to be surrendering to nothing. There's nothing there. And if there was a God, he wasn't there for me. That was my attitude, you know, several years ago, until I learned better. So now what I've been working on is this idea of surrendering, which was made clear to me by Abraham Esther Hicks when she said surrendering is giving up. It's not exactly what she said, but she said something along those lines. So for me, surrendering became just that. I just give up. I give up this anxiety, this angst, this tight feeling in my head. I give up these beliefs I have against myself, these beliefs I have against other people. I'm going to give it all up. I'm going to go out there and just have some fun, make some friends, and be friendly. Whatever happens, happens. I don't care anymore. I give up. You know, trying to defend myself, move around, being afraid, having this anxiety. If I don't want to talk to that person, because I'm too afraid, I'm just not going to talk to them. These people seem cool over here. They got a good vibe. Maybe I'll talk to them. Or maybe I'll join this group over here. Maybe I'll go straight to amazing conversation, just be myself. Like, I want to talk about this. Let's talk about this. You want to talk about this? We want to talk about this. And you'd be surprised when you vibe with that. So it does take a little bit of bravery. I guess that kind of that breaking of the ice at first kind of thing. But it does happen. So really the point of all this, me sharing this personal information, is to show that although you have trauma, you can find ways to live the life you want to live despite that trauma. You know, one of the big, I would say, blocked areas of my life is finance. I could definitely do a lot better financially, but that's okay. But to see all these other parts of my life, my spirit life, my emotional life, my physical life, now my social life, just start to improve. You know, it's really worth risking facing something you're afraid to do. I was listening to Gabby Bernstein, and you know, I think I talked about this in the last episode where she was talking to a bunch of British women, and she, you know, she said something so profound: turn down the volume on fear, turn up the volume on inspiration. So I've been working on that as well. So a lot of times when I'm in a situation, and I'm very focused on the situation I'm in, I'm afraid, You know, maybe I'm out in public or whatever, somebody's staring at me. Whatever's triggering me, you know, I'll tap right here. There's something else from Gabby Bernstein. Tap right here. And just kind of let your body wake up a little bit. And then you say to yourself, I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. And that's what I do. I practice that. And that helps out a lot. So challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to face whatever you're stopping yourself to do due to some kind of trauma. So whatever story that you have running through your head right now, which is, I can't do this because X. Whatever X is, face X. Try it out, see what happens. It's been working in my own life, so I encourage you. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Balance Act. May you find that correct path between the metaphysical and the practical to your own source of great wellness. I love you.